Miss Jody here with the last video for Earth and Space Science. We are finishing up finally, and our year was really full, as you can see how big this journal is. I did realize that when I started working on your journals this week, I've been putting all the pictures in and putting all the blank labels to get it ready, that we were running out of room. And so the last chapter that we were on was the history was it the history of spaceflight? Yes, the history of spaceflight. We'd already gotten through all of the astronomy stuff that we've been working on for a while. And then we finally got to the history of spaceflight. And so I left that spot, that blank black paper for us to create the rocket. I forgot to create mine so I could show you an example. But I did create my moon, if you remember, the moon that we were doing and my little foamy moon. This is how mine turned out, nice and foamy. And if you did that, hopefully yours turned out really nice. And don't forget to save that for me, because I glued a black piece of paper into your journal so that I could glue it right on there. If you don't have the materials to do that type of moon, you could have done any type of moon, obviously. And then also the rocket, I glued a blank piece of paper in for your rocket that you were to make me. So with those two things, and then our last couple topics on the unmanned satellites and the unmanned space probes, I realized we were out of room. So once I got all that stuff glued in there and I started doing all your journals, everybody's out of room too. So I decided that I can't really, or shouldn't really, do another set of notes for our last chapter, because I have nowhere to glue them in, and I would have to splice in papers for all 30 students to add any more notes. So instead of doing a note video, you'll be happy to hear that I'm just going to introduce you to this topic, and then you can do this chapter on your own, and you don't have to take notes or anything. I'm going to be attaching some fun videos that go along with it, and then you'll be done. And of course, still do the chapter reviews and turn those in, because I'll grade those and add those to your homework folder. And I'm going to finish putting all the stuff in, any of the pictures and any of the stuff that I've received so far, and then I will make a pickup spot for everyone that has dropped off their stuff. They can pick up their journals, and then that way you'd still have them. And then if we do get to come back together, the picture spots, the empty picture spots will be in there, and then you guys can bring your journal back to me, and then we can do some of our activities, and then I can glue the pictures in and then get them back to you. That's if they allow us to get back together at some point. I still am hoping for that, but many people have said I'm being delusional at this point. So I really want to see you though, so it's sad to me. But we'll follow whatever rules are laid out. Okay, so this last chapter, the interesting thing about this last chapter, the whole time we've been studying this Earth, space, and science, we've been looking at the Earth as a whole, and the majority of our year we spent looking at all that, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the land, how everything works together. Then we turned our eyes to space and said, oh, here's space, and look at all these cool things about space. And then the last chapter, they tie it all together with like our stewardship, with taking care of our world as a whole, and how everything fits together in the world of environmental science. Now, what's interesting to me about that is next year on Tuesdays, I'm teaching a whole year on environmental science, and it's going to be pretty exciting. Well, at your level, it's, if you're going to be in the younger level, the kindergarten through third, or the 4th through 6th grade level, that is going to be called ecology on Tuesdays from 9:30 to noon. And we're going to be able to do a lot of exciting things with ecology, because when we start seeing how everything ties together, it's very fascinating. And so there's going to be a lot of hands-on fun things that we can do, growing things and things with animals, and all these tie-ins to how this beautiful biome, this area of life, all works together for us to sustain this magnificent living world. And so it'll be very exciting. So if you took life science last year at this level, and then you took earth and space science this year, then it's a beautiful tie-in between life science and all the living things that we talked about, and then this year's study on the physical aspects of Earth, taking out the space stuff, but the physical aspects of Earth, which will be the non-living, a lot of the non-living things, and then you put them together in environmental science and in ecology. So it's focusing on the two main things, the abiotic factors and the biotic factors. The biotic factors are going to be the living things interacting with the non-living things of our biome, like water and temperature and air. They're not living, but they are necessary for life. And so when you start to see this correlation between those two components, it's fascinating. They depend on each other. It's this big puzzle linking everything together. So I will encourage you, if you are in the kindergarten through third or the 4th through 6th, to take ecology next year on Tuesdays. The other thing is, if you're ready to move up, if you are in the 7th grade and moving up, there is other options for you. There's biology and there's chemistry and earth systems and all that. But there's also my STEAM program that meets on Wednesdays is actually on environmental science this year, the whole year at a higher level for environmental science. So that's going to be very fascinating because we'll be studying with the younger kids on a lower level, and then the high school and the junior high kids will be studying it they will be studying it more in depth and being able to do a lot more of the projects and seeing the really intricate. It's almost like the younger level will be like a 1,000-piece puzzle of putting all these things together, where the older students class on environmental science is like a 50,000-piece puzzle. There's because also with the STEAM program you get the technology, the engineering, the art, and the mathematics. Now with the STEAM program there is in the technology with environmental science we're doing agriculture, so that's going to be really cool. Now if you are moving up, that's not your only option. Like I said, there's other ones, but if you also are staying at the lower level, there's other options for you too. If you don't want to take ecology, you have another program on Thursdays, which is the STEAM program, but it's for 4th through 7th grade, I think it is. So it's for a little bit of the older group, which is going to be on human anatomy and physiology, the history of medicine, linking all those things together. Biomedical engineering. So that one's a cool one too. So if you'd like to turn your eyes to the living in the medical world, then I would say take Thursdays. But if you really like this idea of linking the living world with the non-living world, the physical things of the world, then environmental science or ecology will be good for you. All right, so like I said, abiotic factors and biotic factors, the living and the non-living. Now in this chapter, what you'll see is you're going to be looking at a lot of the biogeochemical cycles. These are things, bio-living, geo-land, chemicals, cycling around. So there will be a cycling of nutrients and things like oxygen and nitrogen and carbon and all these things that are necessary to keep this wonderful bubble of our world functioning the way that it functions, okay? So you'll spend some time looking at those cycles, and then you can take a look at other things like pollution and different types of pollution, land pollution, air pollution. Like I said, since we're not taking notes, I'm not going to go into each one of these details. I'm just going to attach a couple videos for you to take a look at, and you'll have to do the rest of this on your own. Then it goes on, and even water pollution and air pollution and all that. I think we were talking about air pollution and water pollution. Then different global changes and how things are affected by the changing of things in our little wonderful bubble called Earth. And then it goes on to even things like ozone depletion, so that we're taking it a little higher into our world, looking up to see what's happening with that and the theories behind that. And then it will go into global warming, and the ideas behind that for those who believe in that theory. and managing our resources, like learning how to take care of the things that we know we can take care of and using the resources that have been given to us. So things like fossil fuels and recycling and all that stuff. And then we'll talk a lot about the renewable energies. So the energies that we can get that are renewable, that don't run out. And so that's really cool. And again, this is going to be a great part in next year's ecology and or the environmental science, like looking at the renewable energy side, learning how we can create all these new and upcoming energies to sustain our world. And I'm going to have a fun time with that, I know, especially in engineering and technology. And then we'll talk about nuclear power, so you can understand that's another resource we can use for making for our energy, the nuclear power. And then of course, nuclear accidents. And then that's pretty much it for the chapter in the book. So this is going to be an interesting topic. And so I want you to go ahead and read through it and still do your chapter review and everything. And I'll attach some videos. But this is the one chapter that I'm sure you'll be very happy that you don't have to actually take notes. Can you believe it? One chapter that you don't have to take notes. But it would just be a waste of our time for our journals because I have nowhere to glue them in. So, but you can take notes at home on regular sheets of paper just for yourself, for your own personal study. Okay, so finish up this chapter. Like I said, I'll add some topics or some videos to help it come alive a little bit more. And then that will pretty much be it. Can you believe it? But still be checking the Google Classroom because I will be adding details to drop-offs, pickups. I'll be adding details if they allow us to have a gathering and what we can do. So I'll be keeping up with you on there a little bit. But if you do have any pictures too, I have only received a few pictures from some people from doing like crafts and activities. But if you have any pictures from me, first of all, it makes my day when I get a picture from you. Secondly, then I can print those out and add those to the journal for the picture spots, even though we've been separated. So in any of the things you've been doing, any of the topics on space, anything you want to do with environmental science, if you can come up with some activities, growing some plants, looking at some of the biogeochemical cycles and figuring out, remember at the beginning of the year we had the plant experiment where we added nitrogen in solution to some of the plants to see if they grew better. Any of that kind of stuff with trying to figure out how all of this works together, I think will be it will make me very happy. Any pictures you can come up with, okay? Or any crafts you want to do and send me pictures of you doing them or experiments. Okay, so I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well and I hope to see you soon.